What is your name and what do you do?
Hi, I'm Viola Rose, and I am a facilitator for Drunvalo Melchizedek and his Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop, and have been working closely with Drunvalo and teaching his body of work for since 2012 now. Yeah.
Yeah, I activated my Merkaba and really stabilized in the heart at your house. And that must be so cool to have that's like such a important moment in everybody's life. And you get to guide people through that all the time. That must be incredible.
It's amazing. It really is. I
Yeah.
think I've taught over 100 of these 4-day workshop intensives, right? At this point, for to like well over 1,000 people, and it's the most amazing thing to be with people as they're up leveling in their consciousness and opening the heart. And it's just such a blessing to be in this field. And so, yeah, you came to the workshop at my house a couple years ago, and it's been amazing to see what you're doing with it and how you're sharing this information that you've learned and are embodying and sharing it in that way. And so, yes, it is my absolute heart's delight to teach this work and to share it with others.
Did you have you looked at my videos?
I did. Yes, I checked
You
them
like my
out.
stuff?
Yeah, I mean you're embodying the work. You're embodying the workshop for sure. And so it's really nice to see how you have taken it. You know, some people come to a workshop. I mean, a lot of people go to workshops, right? And some people will just take a little of this and then they're on to the next workshop and then they're on to the next workshop, right? But this work, in a way, is a workshop to end all workshops because it gives you all the tools that you need to walk the path of ascension on your own, in your own sovereignty and fully embodied. And so I feel like with you, you took that and like you let this be something bigger in your life and you're actually practicing it. You're actually embodying it. You're actually, being with the work and studying it and letting it become more of its promise that it has, where it can lead you to your sovereignty, where you're not looking outside yourself for answers endlessly on that loop anymore. And I see you doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I love it so much. It's like when I try to I want to show it to other people and send it out as far as I can. And I like it so much because you don't need to hold people's hand. It's like you just show them how to be in their heart and that's all you need to know. It's like that's the gateway to like everything spiritual. It's like getting in touch with their higher self, seeing energy. Um, it's just a really solid way to like interact with the whole thing.
Yeah, to me, like some of the main points of the work that point to it being like sovereignty training is what I call it. Sometimes I call it galactic superhero training, but sometimes I'll just call it sovereignty training because it's like we learn that we have our own connection with our own higher self and we learn how to establish that connection. So once you've got that, you don't like have the blinders on as much as you normally do because you can get the bigger picture. And that's what I think leads people to seeking outside of themselves a lot more. And then when you make the connection to your own sacred and tiny space of your heart, that is what so many people are seeking when they're seeking love, they're seeking higher energy. And so you get that connection for yourself, and then you activate your Merkaba, which is your ascension vehicle, your light body. So that technology comes on, and then you feel super sovereign, empowered. And then also you connect your psychic antennas from around your head. So then you're more psychic, you're more tuned in, you trust your intuition. And so many different points like lead it to be such an internal job of empowerment rather than external.
hmm I was obsessive with checking my beams after the workshop.
Yeah.
You only need to do it for 21 days, right? I did it for 3 months straight. Just I was obsessed with it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Nowadays I don't do the creation meditation too often, but when I do it, it really anchors you in there uh for like for a good amount of time after you do it. So I like to do it for that sometimes.
Yeah.
I've kind of discovered that there's some things you can't really manifest. It's like, and you talked about this in the workshop, is like if your higher self it's up to your higher self what you're able to do. And yeah, so I've kind of discovered there's some things you can't manifest until it's divine timing for something to happen like that. Um, but yeah, it's just so beautiful. Like the energy in your house must be incredible. Just all these Merkabas coming out and activating, just like clearing and activating the entire area every time.
It's amazing. Yeah, really good energy in the space for sure. And of course, I've got my Merkaba here. I've learned how to create external Merkabas to then create the space in my home to be like a sanctuary. So, um, yeah, it's just
Oh,
it's super fun.
yeah. No, I haven't made an external Merkaba in a long time. I
Hmm.
forgot about that.
Yeah, that becomes beneficial just when you want to protect a space or to create a certain energetic vibration in a certain space.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing became my life. I somehow knew when I was going into Drunvalo's like reading the book and then finding the workshop, I was like, this is gonna be my life now. I somehow just knew. And yeah, so like now I want to, for me, my goals is I want to get as much of humanity in their hearts as possible so that we can really heal the earth and like push that envelope. Like to me, the bottleneck is humanity's vibration. Like the entire vibration of humanity, getting that high enough so we can really heal the earth and like get things happening in that way.
Yep, that's the work at hand.
Hmm.
Yep. I just got off the phone with Drunvalo actually a few minutes ago. I was like,
Oh,
I
so
have to
fun.
go. I've got this interview. And he's just so excited about his next book coming out and like that it really is the thing that is going to help like get so many people into their hearts and whatnot. So I think a lot of us are here with that mission and like that this is the work at hand. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the third volume, that's going to be about the ATIH workshop, right? That's
Yeah,
going to be that
it will
material.
be a lot of the material from the ATIH workshops plus some other stuff in there.
Ooh.
Because the energies keep evolving.
I'm
And
I'm really curious about the fourth volume. That's Oh, I'm sorry. It cut out a little bit. What were you saying?
oh, I don't remember.
Okay. Um, when I've had some experiences when my vibration gets really high, where like I can sometimes I'll do this in the heart. I really often call out to people without meaning to and make the connection with them through the heart. And that was a learning process for me because I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to intrude on you." Um, but I've kind of learned that a lot of times you're interacting with their higher self through the heart. So it's like you're not interrupting anybody in their like day-to-day life that much. And when it's through the heart, it's okay. Um, and I've had experiences where like I've really connected with like Drunvalo's higher self. And when I watch those YouTube videos where he talks about the cosmic grace workshop, and that's the whole next step beyond the ATIH and like the volume four. Um, when I listen to him like talk about it in those videos and he's super excited and like the streaming of the energy and things like that, I feel just a really cosmic energy come into me, just like a kind of vibration from my higher self comes in like super cosmic and galactic. And that's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely higher cosmic consciousness and higher energies that are kind of coming into the planet at this time. And so Drumble is going to talk a lot about that in volume 3 and in volume 4.
Have you um done any of that? Has he taught you any of that stuff?
Yes. Yeah, he has. But I can't talk about it right now.
Ooh. Oh, I know, I bet. Oh man. Oh, that's so exciting.
Because he also needed to try
Oh, that's
some of
incredible.
the things to make sure that they were working for other people, as well as just himself, because we can have our own experiences, but how do we know that translate to others? So it's been important for him to also do this work with some people to make sure it's translating. So yeah,
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 and I've
there's
I've gained an
amazing stuff
appreciation.
coming.
I can't wait. Yeah, and I've gained an appreciation of that through trying to teach other people to come into their hearts. Is how much he took into consideration the uniqueness of everybody and how different people's experiences can be, and the whole see, sense, and feel. And uh, he really tried to cover all the bases to get as many people as possible into the heart through his work. And yeah, in my experiences, guiding people through the guided meditation into the heart, the unity breath, and moving in. It's been really fun to see the uniqueness of different people and what their experience is through that. And yeah, it's been really interesting because people are so unique. And so yeah, it really is important to make sure um yeah, that's a whole layer is making sure what you do can work for other people as well.
Yeah.
So, what brought you to the spiritual path?
Boy, isn't that a loaded question? Um, I individuated at a really young age. I just never fit into society and I never wanted to. So by the time I was 19, I was checking out of society and, finding whatever I could in the late 80s that was not that, and that led me to like the rainbow family and kind of became a hippie for a while. And then that sort of led me into like Eastern spirituality. And I found myself living in ashrams in India and in my 20s and being a monk. And so I think it's just been my lifelong path to be a seeker and an explorer of all kinds of different paths. And there was something that happened to me in 2011 that when Fukushima happened, and it was like a big wake up call, like, oh, like stuff's going down on our planet. I need to prepare, and I thought that that meant maybe being a prepper or preparing somehow for whatever's coming. And that didn't last long. And then I got like the deeper hit was like, oh no, I need to be in my heart. Like I need to really, if I am really in my heart, nothing can touch me, or even if it does, I will be unfazed by it because I am in my heart. And so I knew I needed that. And even though like I said, I spent my 20s in like ashrams and doing different paths, I didn't have it. And I knew I didn't have it. And that's when I found Drunvalo's work, the Living in the Heart book. And immediately I just devoured it. And like you, I kind of like knew like this is going to be my life, and then went to train with him. And then I became one of his facilitators. And then I became an assistant to help him train other facilitators and then have been teaching this work ever since then. So um, it was a sort of a lifelong journey that led me there. And I feel like it's part of what I'm doing here is I'm on that team with him and here to help kind of share and support his mission of getting the information about the heart and about the Merkaba activation to people so that we can all collectively raise consciousness up to another level, which is what we're doing here.
Okay, so you were really a seeker. You just from the beginning, like, and you never really f fit into anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have so much respect for people who like went through the path in the 80s and 90s, because I'm sure the vibration on Earth was so different back then, and it wasn't nearly as conducive as it is now.
Yeah, yeah, it was like forging new territory for sure in a lot of ways. Like when Drunvalo first came out with the Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life books, and there was an older way of activating the Merkaba. That's all that was accessible at the time. There wasn't there wasn't like the way of doing the Merkaba that we're doing from the heart. Collectively, the vibration wouldn't allow it. We weren't there yet. So it was like you had to kind of trudge through the mud just to kind
Mm,
of get the templates in place and the awareness in place. And then as we continue to rise and evolve, things can come online much easier and it's much simpler to talk about these kinds of things.
yeah, I've been really appreciative of how many people resonate with my message on social media. Like,
Yeah, I was noticing that. Like I checked out your page and what you're doing, and I was like, oh, he's just pretty much talking about the ATIH workshop, but how it's been for you, and how you're embodying it and how much interest there is and how people are wanting that information. And so I was delighted to see that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's funny. Like very early on, I tried to show a couple people really close to me. I was like, hey, there's this really cool thing I can show you. But it always fell apart at some point. Like it just wasn't meant to be. And so like you really need to be aligned to the message and the energy to want to pursue it like that. And the fact that there's so many people who are interested and like willing to try and pursue it is like really reassuring. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, it's absolutely. So yeah, if people are inspired by what you're sharing, they can come to an Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop, right? I'm offering them in person, in the Sedona, Arizona area. I offer them online. I have a self-study course. And so there are ways to get the workshop and get this information if you are, resonating with it because yeah, to me, it's the most important work that I found. And like I said, even after a lifetime of seeking and diving into all these different paths, when I first went to Drunvalo's workshop in 2011, the first time he offered it to the public, and I'm sitting there and I'm getting all this activations and information. And I kind of walked away going, oh my God, this is the most amazing and important information I have encountered, in my whole life, which is why I do what I do now. But yeah, I think it's special and it's unique. And it is also like not for everybody for sure. People, it's if you're aligned with, like you said, like you tried to share it with some people and it's like if it's not quite the right fit, it's not. Um, but it's nice to see that there's an uptick right now and that people are interested in really truly getting into the heart. And I think it's the counterbalance point for what we're seeing going on in the world right now with it being so AI heavy. And the AI stuff, it's so devoid of soul and devoid of heart. And so it's almost like a natural response to that, that there's now this uptick in people going, I want to be an organic human. I want to be in my heart. I want to embody this. And so I think that the response that you're getting to your videos is maybe part of this wave that's coming out of, the 3D duality that we're in.
Yes. And yeah, I really like getting your perspective to share with my audience because yeah, I think that's just really good to get like your energy, your take on the experience. Um so this is a very broad question again, and you don't need to think too hard on it, but
Okay.
so what is the importance of living in the heart?
Mm. To me, the main importance is that the heart is more the core of who we are, and the brain is meant to be a task doer. It's meant to be in service to the heart. And so things have happened in the third dimension which have flipped that script the opposite, and the brain is now in charge, and people are living in their brain and they're thinking from their brain. And if you ask people where are you located inside your body, they will most often point to the brain. And so when you're oriented and your sort of base camp is set up in your brain and you're living life from there, then you're creating life from your brain, because on some level we are somehow co-creating with this matrix or this thing that we're in here, whatever this is. We know that sometimes we can steer it and we can sometimes manifest and things like that. So there's some sort of co-creation happening. And yet the brain is a dualistic organ and it is based in duality. And so any creating that we do from the brain is going to manifest in a dualistic way, some good, some bad, things like that. And if we are in the heart and we're living from the heart is in unity consciousness. There is no duality there. And so now you're not living and creating and vibrating from duality. You're in the heart and vibrating from love. And that changes a person's experience of life so much, because now they're not on the roller coaster of up and down, good and bad, positive and negative. It's more like just cruising down a river of grace, of being in the heart. And so to me, that is of utmost importance to just change a person's experience. Because I think third dimension is a realm of struggle by nature. Like everything here is spinning its wheels to just survive, and distractions are everywhere. And suffering is almost like that's like the first Buddhist precept, like existence is suffering. And so if we can steer that in a different way and not be so caught up in the duality and be in the unity of the heart, it can make us a little bit easier to be on our highest timeline. And I think that people's highest timeline are doing what brings them the most joy, being in service to others. It's not just what brings you the most joy, because that can be so completely indulgent, but when what brings you the most joy while you're being in service to others. That I think is the most noble thing that can give some sense of purpose and to being here. And as long as we're struggling in duality and on the roller coaster, there's not a lot of time for that. But the more we can be in grace and be at peace, then the more bandwidth we have for being in joyful service.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautifully said. Um, yeah, the grace, just the love and the grace and the acceptance, the forgiveness for your struggles and who you are, like that just melts my heart. Like I heard, so there's a Drunvalo video on YouTube where he's with this Russian man, I forget his name. And I want to read his book because he wrote a book about the heart too, and that seems really interesting. But they talked about how the importance of just practice staying in your heart and extending the amount of time that you stay in there. Um, do you have any like tips and tricks to stay in the heart longer and more?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, in the whole 4 day workshop, we just, get it so into this and all the different ways to do that. But one of the main things is when you go into the heart in the meditation, when you're done, like you've been in there 20 minutes, you're antsy or you're ready to get on with your day and you're going to come out, don't come out. Don't come out of the meditation. Stay in the heart
Hmm. Yes.
and don't go back to your brain. Stay here and just start to layer in your experience of the external world so that now you're aware of the external. You can start by like feeling the air in your skin, hearing the sounds in the room, but start to blend the internal experience of being in the heart with the external, and then open your eyes, look around, still breathing into your heart, and then start to go about your day. And that will right there increases it. So now you're not just meditating in the heart, you're actually living in the heart, which is the whole purpose. That's the name of Drunvalo's book, right? Living in the heart, not just visiting the heart once a day in meditation. So that to me
Hmm.
is the main training tool. And then when you find that you're not in the heart anymore, because like, okay, like the day has gone on and now I'm in line at the grocery store and I'm frustrated because it's taking too long or something. And I can be like, oh, I'm not in my heart right now. I just caught myself. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to just breathe in. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to do the route and quick and easy, just kind of get back in and be in my heart. So the practice becomes returning, constantly returning to the heart.
Hmm. Yeah, I had somebody who did a guided meditation with me, and she actually, okay, I just had to check if it was okay if I shared this. Um, but she could stay in the heart really well, and she worked with animals and healing animals. She would make a heart connection with animals, and like the horses she worked with would help her stay in the heart. Like they would hold her there. And she had a really easy time staying in her heart when she was working with animals. But when it was just herself, she had a harder time. And that's kind of what she wanted help with. And the way I thought of to do that, and this is something I also learned from Drunvalo, is like there's a direction you can face when you're sitting in a tiny space of the heart, where, and I'm sure you know this, where the vibration gets even higher. Um, so that's a trick I employed because like pretty often the heart starts showing me images that like I love so much and like they get me excited and the brain, the ego comes in. It's like, hey, let's do this with it, and then that pulls you out, the ping pong effect.
Yeah.
And so I would just sit in the direction where it's stronger and just like don't even like try to figure out anything. Just stay there. Don't worry about anything else. Um, so that's a big trick that I use. But I loved what you said about layering on the experience, like the feelings, start to smell things, start to feel things and hear things. Like, yeah, that's a really good trick. It's a really good tip. Yeah, kind of. So like my experience recently is like um spirits pushing me to like spread the message of the heart and get people in their heart. Um, and that's the direction I'm being pushed in. Um, and I think that's so cool that you're there to help Drunvalo with things and um keep doing the workshop and things like that. But and I think that that might be the answer. But like, yeah, so like where do you feel spirit pushes you
Yeah,
to be of
well,
service?
Spirit definitely pushed me to Sedona. So I moved here 3 years ago, and my higher self told me, come here. to help keep the ATIH work alive. And I didn't really know what that meant, but I moved here, and now like I'm working on the book with Drunvalo. Helping him. We're building a recording studio together for in his basement so we can do like YouTube videos, and like that was a complete instruction, just like to be here and do that. So I feel like I'm doing that, and then also outside of the Drunvalo work and supporting his mission and feeling aligned with it. I'm also a sound healer. And so I work with people individually, online or in person, doing sound healing sessions and helping people clear traumas and blockages and around the heart and tune people up, right? So that has evolved in my life over time as a way to be in service that brings me joy. I think that when we're that's the sweet spot, right? Is that something that brings us joy, but that is helpful. So I feel like my life is those main two things that I do. Uh, yeah, I feel pretty aligned with all that.
The sound healing session you did during the workshop was absolutely magical. That was incredible. And
In the workshop, I do a little one. That's right. Yep.
yeah, yeah, that was lovely. And there's something about live music too, where like the vibrations can really sing. Like I read this thing where amplifiers, there's overtones of live music that they can't capture because they would break the amplifier. Like they can't handle those frequencies. And so
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten an obsession recently with live music to capture those overtones and like really heal you on a cellular level.
It's so different. Like it really can't be duplicated. Uh, it's like people still go to the symphony, even though they can listen to a record, they can listen to a CD, they can listen to a recording. It's not the same because when you're in the room with the instruments, magic happens. And it just there's nothing that synthesized music can duplicate, or even a recording of the live music. And sound vibrations, they move through the room. And if you can imagine a bowl of water on top of a loud, bassy, booming speaker, that bowl of water would be vibrating in ripples, right? So that's exactly what's happening to the water in our bodies when we're in the room with the live instruments. And so it really does create effects that bring people into coherence, because we also, if we're at least 70% water, then we've got like an ocean inside of us, and that ocean has tides. And so there's the tides of the body, and they can be choppy, and like the can be over here going in this orient direction and this over here. And then if you're exposed to like the gong, I have a big gong, and it's one of like my most powerful sound healing instruments. Those waves the sound vibration waves coming from the gong will vibrate all the water in the body into coherence, like in as one wave, as one pulse. And so now the whole body is in coherence together instead of choppy tides here and there. And that just helps a person get into deep rest and unwind in ways that a recording can still be nice, but it's not the same. Yeah.
Mhm. There's frequencies of it that just can't capture.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess I want to talk about the Merkaba. So I've noticed like through other sources, a lot of people have different ideas about the Merkaba.
They sure
And
do. There's so
yeah,
much out there.
it's yeah. And through Drunvalo's work, it was all very structured and like I don't know, it just seemed to be very like understandable and solid and like this is what it is. And yeah, so it kind of blew my mind getting out there and hearing other people's different perspectives on the Merkaba and how it activates. And yeah, so like there's so many people they do a Merkaba activation every day. And yeah, it's just interesting that there's so many different paths and they all still exist at the same time, but they all kind of lead to the same place. And yeah, so that was interesting for me to like see all the different takes on the Merkaba.
Yeah, well, to just to pick up on what you said about how some people do a Merkaba activation every day, well, I'll address that. So
Hmm.
when Drunvalo wrote The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, in the early 90s, he presented the world with a way to activate the Merkaba that was a Merkaba meditation that you did every day. Because, like as I shared a little earlier, collectively we weren't ready for the heart-based Merkaba, which is a permanent activation, right? You activate it once and now it's permanent and you have it for the rest of your life. We weren't there. So his main purpose
Mm.
on Earth is to be here to bring the information about the Merkaba. So what to do if humanity wasn't ready for it. So what he was guided to do was to teach people a synthetic Merkaba, which meant you create it. You do a meditation every day where you could create a Merkaba field around you. And it wasn't perfect, but it got it's into the collective consciousness and it got people starting to do it. And it's still a valid way of doing it, but it doesn't last because you're creating it synthetically. You have to recreate it every day, right? And so then once you activate it from the heart, it's permanent. So that information is still out there in the world. A lot of people will still find, like people might just find the ancient secret of the flower of life now, and they read it and then they learn that, or they learn it from somebody else who used to be one of his teachers back then. But that a lot of people who taught that work back then, they like it and they didn't evolve with him to teach the new way. So there's the variations on there. So there's people who are aligned with what Drunvalo is teaching, but they're still following what he was teaching in the 90s. And then on the other side of the coin, there is people who are not aligned with Drunvalo, who thought his information was incorrect, and they changed it, or taught other things that are out there. And so then you've got all that as is the nature of third dimension. There's going to be duality. And so it can be a little hard to find your way through it all if you're coming into it. And so people will ask me all the time, well, what do you think about this person's teaching or that person's teaching? It's opposite of Drunvalo's. And it's like, oh, it's not the flower of life, it's the daisy of death. And like there's all this sort of information out
Oh,
there.
I ran into that too.
Right? And so, what do you do with that? And so what I do with that is I will watch that source. Who is the source of that information? Ashiana Dean is the main source of the information about the Merkaba being wrong, the Daisy of Death. It spread to Lisa Renee, it spread to others. And so as a teacher for Drunvalo, and I tell you what, when I'm in Drunvalo's presence, he is the purest hearted person I know on this planet. Does he get it
Mhm.
right 100% of the time? No, and he'll correct himself as he goes along. But I trust his heart and I trust him 100%. He is a pure-hearted soul. He wants nothing from this world. He just wants to give what he's learning and figuring out, right? So I can get that vibration when I watch him or when I'm in person with him, right? I have the luxury of spending time with him in person, so I actually feel that. So then, if somebody wants to know my take on another person's teaching, if it's different, I will watch their videos or I will read their information and I will tune into my heart and tune in that way. Do I trust their heart? Because if you just follow the information, the mind gets so engaged, it can get very confusing to navigate
Yes.
through what's right, what's wrong, how do I know what to believe, this and that. The mind will just spin endlessly. So I bring it to the heart. Do I trust that this person is
Hmm.
the heart? Do I trust this is a good-hearted person? And then I get my answer. And then that just clears the
Hmm.
path for me. And here I am all these years later, still, trusting Drunvalo and his heart. And I've done it that step of using that method through all the different curveballs that have sort of come my way.
I'm glad you did the research yourself into the Daisy of Death because I kind of argued with the guy who showed it to me a little bit because he was saying um the Daisy of Death, the Flower of Life was not it was he was saying it was dualistic and not in unity. To me, that doesn't make any sense because you can go to any, and this is still looking at it through the mind's point of view too, but looking through the mind's point of view, it's still in unity because you can go to any point on it, and then you're back at the center.
Mm. Well,
Any
and
point on it,
I do
and it's
understand.
holographic.
Yeah, and I do understand that vantage point of where that's coming from. And yet, to me, what makes sense is that the sacred geometry that, like the flower of life and the star tetrahedron and things like that, they are the source code of this third dimensional realm. And if we want to work with this third dimensional realm, then that is the code. It's like that's all sacred geometry is. It's the code. if this is a matrix and this is a hologram, it's all code.
Mm,
And what is the code that manifests physical reality? It's the what we call sacred geometry. And so it is of this third dimensional realm, but that's what it takes to build this to then evolve it into the next dimensional realm. Whereas the Merkaba that Drunvalo is offering is a fourth dimensional technology, because the only thing that's going to go through the veil from the third to the fourth is a dimensional technology that functions at that realm. So you need both.
mhm,
You need to be able to be fluent in third dimensional technology and how to work with it and code so that you can actually upgrade it and work with this reality that we have around us. But then you also need the fourth dimensional technology so that you have the frequency match to upgrade to there. So I don't know that I disregard any of it, all of it. I think it all has its place, but I think the black and white thinking about it and how people are so quick to disregard something because they read an article, or they read an article on something like that's the daisy of death. That's it. And they're done. They never want to see the flower of life again.
mhm,
Whereas like
mhm.
it all has its place. And don't forget that there's smear campaigns about everything out there in this third dimensional, matrix of hall and mirrors. So just remember to tune into your heart to find what's true for you. And also it may be that. So, Drumbalo never ever says that he's got a corner on the absolute truth. He'll always be like, this has just
Yeah.
been my experience. This is what I've learned so far. It's worked for me, and I'm going to share that. And maybe there'll be a new teaching down the road that upgrades that. He's very humble about it. But I think the
Mhm.
black and white thinking can get people locked into new boxes when all they're trying to do is break free of boxes.
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like that really needed to come through. Um, yeah, a lot of people, it's funny, I wanted to talk about this earlier, but I wasn't sure about bringing it up. But a lot of people, they come in and they do like that logical thinking. Like if you state something this way, then you're going to be caught into like a brain trap there. But it's all about the phenomenon, and it's all about, it doesn't matter how you phrase it. It doesn't matter what the logic behind it is. Just come into the heart and look at it through the feminine lens. Yeah, so that's a really good perspective to look at it. Like, I think that's all important information. Every perspective is of equal value. And that's another thing I love about the ATIH workshop is you learn that all images are of equal value, whether you see them in your heart or in the outside reality. I think that's such an important way to start to dissolve the duality thinking, is to understand that. And yeah, so all perspectives are equally important. And yeah, so I was shown it's like an image of a toroid that shows like the lines of force. Have you seen that? The alternate that they offer besides the flower of life? I forget what it's called. What they call it.
Oh yeah, I can't think of what it is either.
Yeah.
It's
I would really love to bring somebody who is all about that kind of thing and see if they want to come into the heart and connect through the heart in that manner and
mm.
kind of see how they would work it into their perspective from the heart. Yeah, that's why I love coming into the heart so much is that um like I don't want to play mind games and things like that. Like I don't um it just dissolves all of that. You just go straight to the truth of reality.
It's so true. It's like what really matters. And I think that a lot of this realm is most of it is built, it's distraction by design, right? To keep us
Mhm.
spinning our wheels. Like in the end, does it even matter? Does it even matter if it's this kind of flower of life or this other thing? And like, what real,
Exactly.
that's still not getting into the heart and realizing like your I am presence and like, like it's still distraction. It's still the story. And the
Yeah.
heart is the great neutralizer. It neutralizes the story. I have done the creation process meditation. This is something that you alluded to earlier in our conversation. And just for people listening, it's a part of the workshop where you learn to actually consciously create your reality from the unity consciousness of the heart. And I don't do that meditation very often, but I tell you what, when I have, most often, I have an idea, something that I want to create or manifest in this life. And then I'm going to do the creation process meditation, which is many, many steps of opening the third eye. It takes time. You get to this state of consciousness, and then I go into my heart, and then that thing that I was so excited to create now doesn't even matter. because I'm in my heart. Like it's like the thing that I thought so was so important when I was in my mind. Once I go into my heart, it doesn't matter at all. It's just the great neutralizer. And we see how much of the stuff around us is distraction. And if people can keep trying to even figure stuff out, I mean, you see it with politics all the time. Like that's a like a very gross, like obvious example in our face of like the two sides and people trying to figure out, are this person a good person or a bad person? But you can take that template and even move it to things like the flower of life or to subtle spiritual topics. And people are still trying to figure out which side they're on and if this or that, whatever. And it's still just distraction uh, from being in the heart and being just a presence of love in the world. You don't need to pay attention to any of that stuff. A person who's just in their heart and knows nothing about sacred geometry or knows nothing about any of this is going to be such a force of good compared to someone who's studying for so much longer and getting way caught up in their head trying to figuring it out, but never actually dropping into the heart.
Hmm. Feeling love is the fundamental most important thing in the universe, probably. Probably. I don't like to speak in
I think
absolutes,
so.
but
I think that there's a distinction there that could be made about feeling love, but detached love, or neutral love, or unconditional love, right?
mhm,
Because if you're caught up in love in an emotionally charged way, then you're maybe still feeding the system with emotion, but there can be that sort of like almost like a wholly detached, like neutral, unconditional love presence that doesn't have story in it, where that might be like the force of that just breaks the matrix, you know?
mhm. Yeah, that was such an important thing in my journey. That was a learning process for me. Like there was somebody I loved, and it was a very difficult relationship, and it went years and years. And eventually, I was like, well, I can't stop this love feeling, so I'm just gonna keep doing that. But I'm gonna now do what I need to do to protect my energy and to honor myself. And so it's like we went our separate ways in life, but the love never stopped. And that was really my introduction to unconditional love. And that really put me onto this path of like I started feeling love all the time and I started really sending it all the time. And I was like, wait, this is the best feeling ever. I never want to stop doing this. And then yeah, that was my entire journey was just like I made that conscious decision. Like I was like, okay, I want to live like this now. And then it's like my higher self and God all came in, my angels, the guides, and they're like, "Oh, excellent. Here we go now." And then they kind of just fed me all the events and learning and things that I needed to get to that point. I didn't realize how much growth was needed to get to that point where you're always feeling love. You're just always projecting the unconditional love for existence in a sphere around. That's kind of the point I want to reach and be, and that I am sometimes. That I am. That's so important to be and not to aspire. So you can be the
Mhm.
thing. Anyway.
Right. Yeah, it's like
Um,
when we take love and we strip it down, we take out the attachment, we take out the hunger, we take out the longing, we take out anything else, and we just strip it down to just love in its essence. Uh, yeah, I think that's the way. So that
mhm,
seems like you got a taste of that when you let go of the attachment and the clinging and or expectation or anything, and all that was left was love. It changed you.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, and I just really realized like that's the only probably the most important thing that anybody needs to focus on. Got a helicopter.
Ah, like it's not coming through audibly.
Oh, you're not here?
But I remember I was teaching one an Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop in Ashland, Oregon. I don't know, maybe it was 2015 or so. And I just remember being on a walk in the evening and just, meditating on whatever I was talking about that day. And I just kind of ended up realizing, like saying it out loud, and it's kind of stuck with me all this time with like nothing here really matters that much. So when you boil it all down, then what's left? Like what really even matters is just to be loving and to try to help alleviate suffering. Because even if the suffering isn't real because all of this is a hologram or an illusion, it still feels real to everybody who is experiencing it or to the animals who are experiencing it, whatever. So to try to help alleviate suffering and to be loving, that's it. Like that's all I could really kind of come up with of all that really kind of matters. Just like you said.
And learning how to be in your heart is such a powerful tool to do that. Like I've had times where I was really holding on and feeling suffering in a specific manner. I sat down in my car and I was like, I have the tools to deal with this. And I just, and it's funny is like sometimes when you're really in a distressed moment, you you're in a really good state to completely let go. And I came into my heart so strong, and then it just alleviated. It just like disappeared, and I kind of felt my angels like kind of celebrate for a second. Like, yeah, yeah, he did it. Um, yeah, yeah. Learning how to be in your heart is such a powerful way to rise above all the things that don't matter in the world like that. Like I'm reaching a point now where it's like there's so many behaviors that I can't even participate in anymore. Like just like watching shows and like social media and things. It's like it's funny, like even innocuous things that I you would think like wouldn't be that bad, but it's just like there's so many things I can't do anymore. And now it's just like just be in nature, just like be in the playground and be present in the moment.
Yeah,
And yeah, just be like a child.
beautiful. Yeah, being fully present. Well, that seems like maybe a good place for it to start to wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah,
I'm
delighted, just delighted to see your journey unfolding in the way that it is.
thank you. Yeah. And that's so cool. You're there to help Drunvalo and working on the books and things. Yeah. Like I'm super interested in the fourth uh volume. Do you think is there anything you can say about the progress on that? Like is that um like
Volume
far
three
off?
volume 3 is just a very soon, maybe a couple weeks out from we're in absolute final edits right now, and then it will go to the publisher, and then it's another 6 months or so until it gets released. Volume 4 is Drumbelow has worked on it some. He really had to get volume 3 out before he could really take on volume 4 because people need to have the awakening the illuminated heart embodied first before they can really take the next information. So he's in a little bit of a break right now and just taking a breather before diving back in to really
Mm.
get into volume 4. So it'll be a little while.
It's so funny to hear him talking about it. Is like he starts saying things like the book like a book has never been written like this before and like he had to keep on rewriting it
Yeah.
and he's just so excited about it and it's really infectious. So it's so
It,
fun.
just today on the phone, he told me that he had just read through it and he was crying at many times as reading through it because he realizes how profound it is and how helpful it's going to be for humanity. So, yeah. And I was so happy to hear that it feels done, it feels ready. So that's great.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I think I should share just for people to know where to find me, that my website is violarose.com. Depending upon what browser you're on, you may have to put a www before it, but Viola, Viola, violarose.com. All of my workshops are listed there. You can totally tune in and go on this journey with Lane if you want to, of embodying this work. So, and I'm here to just be a steward of that.
Yeah. And so you have a guided meditation for entering the heart on YouTube
I do. Yep.
and you do an in-person workshop. How often do you do that? Once a year?
No, I do about three times a year. I do an in-person workshop in my home in Sedona. I've got one coming up in September. There's about 4 spots left. And then every month or two, I do an online workshop, and I have one coming up at the end of August as well. And then I also have a self-study course that people can do at their own pace with a recorded ATIH online workshop, and then people go through it, and at the end of each day they message me with their questions, and so it's kind of like real-time engagement, but people can kind of go at their own pace because not everyone can take 4 days off or they've got kids or a job. So there's lots of options. And on my YouTube channel, which is on YouTube Viola Rose, I've got 2-hour introductions to the workshop. I've got lots of little videos I've made about it and lots of things you can tune into. And like you said, a meditation going into the sacred space of the heart as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, the having the bit that people can go at their own pace, that's really helpful. That's really nice actually.
Yeah, people are really
And
loving it, going through it in that way.
yeah, and then you also have an online guided one that you do with them, and
Yeah,
you
like
do
the
that more
next
often.
the next live online workshop I have is the end of August. So I do that every month or two. And I kind of go on the journey with people for 4 days live.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Yeah, you reached out and said, could love to talk to you. And I thought that sounds like a great time. Let's do it. So I really enjoyed this. It was good talking with you.